Alright, so the draft lottery results were just released about an hour and a half ago. And me being a Bulls fan, and I know a lot of Bulls fans like me, are not too pleased because the Bulls were projected at number 4, and we fell all the way down to number 7. So we're going to be picking at number 7 for 3 years in a row now. And yeah, so this video is going to be my reaction to the lottery. I'm going to break down, I'm just going to give you the results. I'm going to break down different scenarios for some of the top teams. Alright, so this draft lottery was a crazy one. I'm just going to break down the list here for everyone. So, I'm just going to go down the line. So, Boston is going to be picking at 14, Miami's at 13, Charlotte at 12, Minnesota at 11, Atlanta at 10, Washington at 9, Atlanta at 8, Chicago at 7, Phoenix at 6, Cleveland at 5, Los Angeles at 4, New York at 3, Memphis at 2, and New Orleans at 1. So, yeah, not exactly what anyone was expecting. Obviously, the Knicks, Cavs, and Suns all had the tied odds for the number one pick at 14%, and the Bulls were at third place with 12.5%, or at fourth place, and the Hawks were in fifth at 10%. And so, out of the teams that were projected to be in the top four, only one of them actually stayed, and that was the New York Knicks. And yeah, so this is really crazy. So the Pelicans won the Zion sweepstakes. Now, yeah, let's just go over their perspective really quickly. So obviously, everyone knows about the whole Anthony Davis thing, and so a lot of people. There were some rumors that after the Pelicans' hiring of David Griffin, their new I don't know his exact title, but he's some front office guy, kind of like a GM type guy, that he would be more open to staying in New Orleans. But then, and obviously now they just got the number one overall pick, so lots of people thought that that would make him uh, more accepting to staying in New Orleans on top of whatever anyone else had already heard. But apparently something just came out that said he doesn't have a change in opinion. He still wants to get shipped out. But this makes it a lot easier for the Pelicans. Even if they do end up trading him, which if I were the Pelicans, I would surely have to experiment with not trading him. Like, you have to figure out how a Zion, Anthony Davis team would work out. Like, that team would probably just be the most fun to watch. Like, that would be one of the best up and coming teams in the West. But even if they have to trade him, and like he refuses to play or something like that, and pulls a Jimmy Butler from this past season and starts sitting out, then they could still trade him to like the Lakers or the Celtics and get a nice return to pair up with Zion. Like if they traded him to the Lakers, they could get like a Lonzo, Kuzma, Ingram package, and then on top with this makes it so that the Pelicans don't have to just rely on whatever they have to get back from Anthony Davis. They can also rely on Zion now with the number one overall pick. Same with the Celtics. They could probably manage to get back like a Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or I guess Terry Rozier, someone like that. Or this is the third option that I don't think a whole lot of people are talking about. The Pelicans could also potentially trade the number one overall pick to acquire an already established superstar to pair up with Anthony Davis and maybe make him more likely to stay. Now, I know that would be a little bit harder to do because the Pelicans are in a bit of a salary cap kind of. They kind of have some problems. They gave out a lot of bad contracts. And so that would be kind of hard to do. But, like, say they find out a way to make it work where Washington gets the number one pick for Bradley Beal. Now, I don't know if New Orleans would necessarily do that because Bradley Beal might be a little less valuable than the number one pick. But I don't know, just some team that might be looking to sell and they could get a good return, obviously, with the number one pick and get their franchise superstar in Zion. So the Pelicans have a ton of options. They're no longer like dependent on whatever Anthony Davis decides. They can do what they think is best for their franchise. And so yeah, that's kind of wrapping up what the Pelicans side of things looks like. And now for the Knicks, I'm kind of gonna skip over the Grizzlies. They're kind of straightforward. They can draft either Ja or RJ. Either would be a good pickup for them to go alongside Jaren Jackson Jr. and Valanciunas, who they got in the Marcus Gasol trade. So they have options there. And then obviously the Knicks are dependent on whoever the Grizzlies take. So say, like, the Knicks really can't lose here. Obviously they did kind of lose because a lot of people were hoping they would jump to one and take Zion. But that didn't happen. So now they're going to get a good option either way. They can get RJ and provide some scoring that they desperately need. Or they could get Ja, who can do the same thing and also has great playmaking ability. Although they do have Dennis Smith Jr., and Frank Ntilikina, but those don't necessarily have to be long-term options at the point guard position for them. And then I could kind of skip over the rest. Oh, actually, I can't skip over the rest until we get to the Bulls. We have to go over the Lakers. So I was really mad when I saw that the Lakers jumped up. One, because I thought it was rigged, and two, because they pushed the Bulls out of the top four. Not just by themselves, but they had a part in it, and also. But I do think it's great for the Lakers. They are gonna draft someone that is gonna go well alongside LeBron James, obviously. So let's say they don't trade for Anthony Davis and they want to keep their young core and maybe sign a free agent. So let's say they leave Lonzo. They would need a shooting guard. They would need maybe a center as well. So they could draft someone like a Jarrett Culver at 4, or I don't know. This probably wouldn't happen if RJ's not going to fall to 4. But I'm trying to think of who the best center in the draft would be. They could also take him. Jackson Hayes comes to mind out of Texas. They have a lot of good options. And even if they do trade him, or maybe if they want to go after Kyrie Irving in free agency, they have so many options. They have the money, they have the assets to make a trade. They have the fourth. They could also probably trade the 4th overall pick. Yeah, this could go with the same thing. I know I keep saying Bradley Beal, but they could also call up Washington and say, hey, you want to take the 4th overall pick for Bradley Beal? I don't think the Wizards would turn that down because I think they're going to be stuck in mediocrity as long as they still have Bradley Beal and John Wall. So if the Lakers call them up and say, hey, we'll take Bradley Beal if you want the 4th pick, I don't think the Wizards would say no. And then you could have someone to pair up alongside LeBron. And yeah, so the Cavs and the Suns, they were probably I don't know if they were the biggest losers. I think the Suns probably were, just because they lost the most. They were the worst team in the league. They only won 19 games, I believe, and they fell all the way to 6. So they have to find a way to get back into the mix, the playoff mix, from being the worst team in the league with only having the 6th pick. Now, they could obviously draft a point guard. There are 3 really good point guards in this draft. You obviously have Ja, who probably won't be available at 6. You could draft Darius Garland or Kobe White at 6. And that would fill Phoenix's very empty point guard spot. And so I don't really think the Knicks are too bad off. I just think if they had obviously landed 1 or 2, they could get Ja. That would have been a much better option for them because he's the best point guard in the class. Actually, I just realized the Hawks could also probably be one of the biggest losers in the draft lottery. They were projected 5 and they fell to 8, so that's not too bad of a slip, but it's still kind of bad. It's still the same 3 slots that the Bulls fell. So yeah, let's get on to the Bulls now. The Bulls were projected with the 4th pick. They had 12.5% chance to land number 1. And obviously they fell out with Los Angeles, New Orleans, and Memphis all jumping into the top 4. And so I do think that the Bulls need to draft a point guard in this draft. I really wanted them to jump up to 2 so they could take Ja. Ja would have fit perfectly. But yeah, I still think they will they should go point guard here. Chances are Darius Garland or Kobe White probably should be available at 7. Like, just going off the top of my head, like, if Zion goes 1, Ja goes 2, RJ goes 3, and then maybe Jarrett Culver goes to the Lakers, and then 5, 6, 7, maybe DeAndre Hunter will go somewhere in between then. So Darius Garland or Kobe White should be available when the Bulls pick. I think it's just whoever's left, then you take. I think Garland and White, they're both very similar in that they're point guards that can score the ball really well. They both still need some improvement on the defensive end. So does Ja. But, like, so yeah, any of the point guards that the Bulls could have drafted in this draft would have been not that great on defense, which is not the best to hear if you want to pair them up with Zach LaVine, who is also not that spectacular on defense himself. Yeah, but I still think the Bulls should go point guard. Really, I'm fine with Darius Garland or Kobe White. They both had great seasons. I think I'm going to do some, this is kind of going off topic, but I think I'm going to do some scouting reports pretty soon. I'm going to just break down individual prospects one by one and kind of go over their game. And yeah, and then I could predict like a best fit for them. But yeah, so at 7, I think the Bulls should really go point guard. I know I've said that a lot, but it's true. Let's just see if there's anybody in the back half of the lottery that we need to go over. So you obviously have the Hornets, and so they're probably going to have to draft someone. Honestly, I think they should just go best available. I think any position is up for grabs. Like, if Kemba leaves, any position on that team is up for grabs. They really need anybody that they can get. So, if someone, like, if there's a sleeper there, like, I don't even know who would be there. I might do a mock draft soon, or before the draft, along with the scouting reports. But yeah, I think Charlotte should definitely go best available. Maybe same with Miami. They could probably stay away from center because they have Bam Adebayo. Boston, they could probably trade that pick. Like, if they wanted to make some type of blockbuster trade, if they don't feel confident about Kyrie staying and they wanted to get another star. I mean, I don't really think they have the money for that either. Minnesota, they should just probably take best available. Yeah, so I'll do a full mock draft later. I just kind of wanted to give you my thoughts on kind of the first half of the draft, what happened with the Bulls. Yeah, so kind of a disappointing draft lottery. All I was saying this whole day was just don't drop out of the top 5, as long as they don't drop out of the top 5. But instead, we're going to be picking at number 7 for the 3rd straight year. So, yeah. I mean, it's not that bad because the past 2 picks we've gotten look like they're going to be studs for us in the future. Markkanen and obviously Carter Jr. last year. So maybe we have just really good luck with the 7th pick. I don't know. We'll have to see. Alright, so that's going to be it for this one. I hope you enjoyed this type of just spontaneous reaction. I'm going to be doing, as I said earlier, scouting reports soon, and hopefully a mock draft out before the draft. And, yeah, so that's going to be it for this one, and I'm out.